So, what do you guys think about Daniel Craig? What do you want to talk about?
We could talk about what people were,
Yeah, just
you know,
talk.
the reactions.
We're talking about how dare they have a blonde Bond? How dare they? Those
I got,
bastards.
I got one word then. I got one word for his series so far. Loyalty.
Loyalty.
Uh,
For the source material. Respect for the source material.
Average gamer, did you get that? Did you get that PM?
oh, not yet. I haven't checked yet, but yeah.
Yeah, post it. Post the link in the chat because I have no. I can't. I can't. I can't. It says you can't send messages to this conversation.
Okay, no
Don't
problem.
tell me what to do. Don't tell me what to do, Skype.
So, continue. What do you guys want to talk about with Daniel Craig? Being serious.
Daniel Craig. When I first saw trailers for Casino Royale, this is when I was probably in my prime, I guess you could say, for my Bond liking of the series. Like I was really, really into it at the time because I had just gotten all the DVD collector sets of all the older movies. And then I saw him. I admit, I was one of those people who saw him and was like, I'm not really seeing Bond from this guy. So I was a bit judgmental. But I saw Casino Royale, and surprising myself, I really liked it. I thought it was really good. I thought he did a good job. It's probably, in my opinion, one of the best movies in the series.
Wow. Was what got me into the series. You know, I saw a few before then, but I was never a huge fan until I watched that movie. If it wasn't for that movie, I doubt I would really be a big fan of the Bond series. I doubt I would have went out of my way to watch all the films or even bother reading the books if it wasn't for that movie.
Yeah. For me, that actually, adding on to what you're saying with Webman, I remember I was talking to my cousin. I brought this up last time, but when I was talking to my cousin about Bond, it's like, you watch that series? It's like, it's the sense of shame. So when Casino Royale came out, it was a sense of redemption and that Bond can be taken really seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, sorry.
Just to say this real quick to agree with that point. That's kind of true with the whole not being able to take Bond seriously because James Bond kind of somewhat unfairly gets a reputation as being a really cheesy series. Like it's cheesy, I won't lie. It's got a lot of cheese in it. But a lot of the time some of the more common tropes of the spy movie people assume are common in James Bond aren't actually all that common in the series overall. For example, the people always assume every James Bond villain wants to take over the world, though. But if you actually look into it, you realize only about 4 or 5 of them actually ever did that.
Most of them wanted $1 million.
Wow. Yeah, for me with Daniel Craig with Casino Royale, I think I had the same opinions as well. It was all opinions with the Casino Royale as well. It's like, really, kind of eye roll. But then when once I started hearing the great news about it, it has the special honor of being one of only 2 Bond films I ever went to the theater for. It was awesome. I was like, wow, this is cool, especially the torture sequence. I haven't, being I haven't been in theaters, maybe I need to get out more often. That's my indication. But when the torture sequence happened, when he delivers that line, as he's getting hit his crotch smack, it's like crushed. It's like, that was awesome. You hear people laughing, kind of clapping. That's awesome. It's like not the torture, but just saying, here's this Bond just kind of looks at you. It's like how defiant it is. That's awesome. That's badass.
And now everyone knows you're gonna die while scratching my balls.
That was awesome. I remember actually, even before I knew what was going on, I heard it from a person when I was in high school. It's like, yeah, the sequence, you have to see it. It's hilarious. Like, and she was one of her other friends, and it's like, okay, I'm just kind of like being secondhand in the conversation, but I was okay. And but when I finally saw it, I realized, Whoa, this is awesome.
It's not funny if you're a guy. Ugh.
It isn't, but I'm just trying to say it's the sense of defiance from Bond.
Oh,
yeah.
The sense of humor too is like, oh,
I mean, when you could say a line like that, when a guy is bashing your balls in with a knotted rope, that's badass.
yeah. Balls of steel.
Balls.
Oh, quite literally.
And also in that sequence, you kind of get there's that great moment where he says he's after the line he says the whole world will die you'll die, the world will know that you scratched my balls, and he said Lashif says, I die, your agents, even after I've massacred you and your little girlfriend, your agency will still welcome me with open arms because they need to know what I need to know. And then Bond just says the bigger picture. And that was a really great moment, showing that, Bond, as good as he is, he's expendable.
Yeah. That was in the sense that, again, it's like Casino Royale is like GoldenEye, and probably even bigger so because of what's at stake. The film is meant to not only introduce a new Bond, a new era of Bond, it's also meant to be a redemption in a sense. And it's very risky because especially the fact is that Casino Royale was already done before and it was a big joke. So with them redoing Casino Royale and doing like this, I think that's why gets such high accolades. And maybe this is controversial to say, and maybe I'm wrong to say this, but that's what makes it also great. It's not just because it's a pretty good film. It's also that it redeems the series, and people were blown away. A lot of people expected it to be such a great film. It's like, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa. So
it's also probably one of the most straight adaptations of any of the novels. I mean, you cut out the first action sequence at the construction yard. You cut that out, and you cut off the Venice section. That entire middle of the film is almost a note-for-note adaptation of the novel. Every key scene.
What about the stairwell fight?
Yeah, that wasn't in there either. To be honest, Bond didn't kill anybody in that novel. So any of the action sequences, you saw they added that in, because if it was just a full adaptation, people would get burned. But yeah, any action, but like the assassination sequence, and it is Alter One, like in the novel when he tries to kill him in the poker game, it was originally a guy just walked up behind him with a gun disguised as a cane.
Right, that was in the 54 version.
Yeah, but obviously they modernized that to poison, So obviously the straight adaptation, but obviously, they had to modernize it a little bit for, modern day. But still, it's a pretty close adaptation. It's literally...
Sorry, that last hand nearly killed me.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think what's also great about this film is that, like Pierce Brosnan, all the other Bond actors, is that Daniel Craig does a great job. He actually makes a new type of Bond. He mixes. What's really impressive about this is you already have had how many 4 or 5 other Bonds before him, and he actually makes a very original Bond. And I think thanks not only to Daniel Craig, it's also to a great script. So it brings a lot of originality because someone's already done it before, because it's done so well.
And talking about talking about scripts, it's funny that Casino Royale turned out so well. Is that considering that let's see, I'm looking up the names. The guys who wrote, actually 3 people wrote this script. It was Neil Purvis and Robert Wade and Paul Haggis. Now, Neil Purvis and Robert Wade, they've written every single Bond movie since Tomorrow Never Dies, and Skyfall is the last is their last film, because the guy who co-wrote Skyfall, John Logan, he's been contracted to write the next 2 or 3 Bond movies. So it's really interesting that the Purvis and Wade, the guys who wrote Die Another Day, wrote Casino Royale. I'm guessing that Michael G. Wilson and Barbara Broccoli probably lit a fire underneath their ass, saying, "We need this to be good. Our lives, our careers depend on this. This needs to be good."
This is probably the reason why that's how they got that was inspiring them to do that torture sequence, because that's probably what happened to them. Someone broke into their house, stripped them naked, and started smashing them in the crotch. Make a good Bond film. Whack.
Wait,
Yeah, but that was in the novel too, though. I'm just gonna put that out there,
Wishful thinking.
Oh, yeah.
Wishful thinking.
He did get his man parts bashed with a knotted rope in the book. Of course, unlike the book, though, in the book he actually at the guy who saves him is a Smarsh agent, a Russian. He's the one that saves him, but not before cutting into his hand a symbol of Smarsh.
Yeah. Also, what's also interesting about the books, and I remember reading this in a YouTube comment, was that in the book, Le Chiffre it's much more controlled. He's much more comfortable in the sense that, where in the movie Casino Royale, he's torturing him, he's in control, but he's very desperate. He's sweating, and because he knows how bad of a position he is in. But in the YouTube comments, the guy's saying in the book he's much more controlled. He's actually very comfortable. He's enjoying really good, coffee while he's torturing Bond. He's actually pours some of that hot coffee on top of him to humiliate him.
Yeah, that sounds a little bit more like Peter Lorre's portrayal of Le Chiffre in the 54 version. Someone in the 54, obviously they didn't torture his nuts in the 54. Oh, hang on.
I don't think they can get away with that in the 50s.
Right.
Yeah.
In the sorry about that. Someone came into my room and I had to just talk to him for a second. In the 54 version, they're I guess it's implied that they're ripping out his toenails with pliers, and Peter Lorre Le Chiffre is just his henchman's doing it, and his Le Chiffre is just standing in one corner of the bathroom, just he's smoking his cigarette, saying, "Now, Mr. Bond, are you going to tell me where you hid that note or whatever it was?"
Yeah.
So let me ask you, Webbman, in the novel, it's what does he torch? Does he torch him with the rope?
Yeah, it's the rope. It's the same thing. It's what you saw in the movie. He cuts out the bottom of a chair, has Bond sitting naked on it, and then he just goes to town with a knotted rope. It's exactly what you saw. That's like I said, it's a pretty faithful That film's a pretty faithful adaptation. I mean, even it ends with Vesper committing suicide. Only they made it much more dramatic, because in the novel, it's just after they get rescued, not to be covers. They stay in a little country inn for a while, but then Vesper gets guilty because she's been a double agent the whole time, and she noticed someone following her, so she commits suicide by swallowing a bunch of pills.
I think what's also great with the series is that I think Michael, you brought this up last time we were talking about this, is that in the series, in this film, you don't hear the Bond theme until the end of the film.
Yeah, you hear the "You Know My Name" theme throughout most of the movie. The actual Bond theme doesn't come until the very end. It's kind of a representation of him growing into being 007.
And as well as the line, you don't hear him say Bond, James Bond, until the end of the movie. In a sense, he's a runt in the whole film, because he's learning. Even though he's already seen with the chase sequence, the parkour chase sequence, you see him. He's already an experienced agent. He's not really a 00. That's he's already a special forces guy, but 00's special forces. So, in a sense, this film is really, you see him learning, growing up, and maturing. And
Batman Begins.
Yeah.
There actually is a little music sting when Bond wins the Aston Martin in the car game. It's just a very quick, subtle music sting. Not a da da da, but just kind of like a
The guitar
just-
thing. Yeah, the little,
yeah, the-
little strum.
Jane, like
Shut
that.
up.
Yeah. And also what's great, I think, is you see that, oh, okay, I lost my train of thought. Is that, again, it's like going back to GoldenEye. It's like, do we really need Bond? Because he's a troublemaker. It's what he does with the parkour chase. It's very sloppy for a 00 agent. And yeah, he almost causes a scene, and it's really nice in the sense that even though this is a remake, they're making sure, very sure that this is after Cold War, with Judi Dench saying, "Damn, I missed the Cold War." I liked it.
I like that scene where she refers to Bond as a blunt instrument, and I'm like, yeah, that's James Bond.
In this film, and we're in later films like Quantum of Solstice, he had a little more finesse. He's a little more surgical in a sense. So
You still can't keep anyone alive long enough to interrogate them, though.
yeah,
You know what? That would have been actually really. That could have actually been really funny. Like he's the 00 agent who can't. He can't help but kill people. Like he doesn't mean to. It's like, oh shit. Like
Let's
you're coming.
not dwell on the past.
Yeah, it's like, now, Em, listen, let's not dwell on the past. You killed the informant. We needed him to get the access codes. It was an accident.
I couldn't help it. I need to get my fix, man.
It was an accident. Oh, it goes to Q, and it's like, 007, why'd you destroy that Aston Martin? It took us months to put the gadgets in it, and even more months to actually afford to buy one. And it's like, I didn't help it. I went to get a cup of coffee. When I came back, it was on fire.
James Bond Jr.
That's it, Bond. You're getting an electric wheelchair from now on.
I think what's also nice about the film is that it moved away from the gadgets. What was really cool is that he did have gadgets in the film, but like for example, a cell phone. It was really neat that the cell phone plays a very pivotal role in the film. For example, it allows Bond to communicate with his agency. It allows one of the terrorists to attempt to blow up the truck. And also it's meant to help unlock the code. I mean, it's the sense of that the phone is the biggest gadget of the film is really neat. Because like by doing so, it allows the person to gain access to this very important bank account.
It's the newest thing from Q Branch. It's called a radio.
It's called a phone.
The radio. Anyway, Donna Summers. Love it.
You get it from your local
wait.
toy store.
Imagine if they did that like in the mid '80s with Dalton. He's like, it's a new thing from Q Branch. It's called a cell phone. He's holding up like this giant. You know how big they were back then.
Yeah.
And
Good times.
he holds up in his other hand. He holds up his like a bag. It's like, and here's the battery to it.
Good. Yeah. I think what is really great about the Bond is that it treats it. It's a new beginning, and they do their very best. I think it was nice with Judi Dench is that she's been the only character aside from Pierce Brosnan that kept the old series afloat. She is a very serious actor, and so that she's very important. We need a central point. So again, Judi Dench becomes a almost mother figure to Bond. It's like, don't do this, don't do that, and she's not afraid to kill him. For example, when she says, Bond is joking, like, oh, I never knew, I should have known that M stands for, if you say another word, I'll kill you. Remember?
Yeah. And I didn't notice this until someone pointed this out. This is actually this is going back to the Bronson movies. In The World Is Not Enough, when they're in the Scottish MI6 HQ, there's a scene in I guess it's M's office, but it's in that main room that they're in, and on the wall is a portrait of Bernard Lee.
Huh.
That's a nice touch to her predecessor.
That's cool. Oh, that's good. Oh. Cool. What else do you want to talk about Casino Royale, guys?
Are we recording this?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh.
It was awesome. End of story.
Oh, because I thought I think we were just kind of like talk about what we're going to talk about for next time.
Oops, sorry about that.
Oh, that's all right. It seemed like I was just kind of I was kind of treating this more casually. I would have come up with a little more discussion topics, but that's fine. Yeah, let me think about Casino Royale. Yeah, it was really good. I regret not seeing it in the theater, but at the time, I was in high school and I had a lot of stuff going on, so I didn't get a chance to go to I go to the movies more nowadays than I do than I
It was a
did
more
then.
complicated time.
Was a more complicated time 6 years ago, or however long it was ago. 2006. Yeah, 6 years ago. But Casino Royale, yeah, it was great. Daniel Craig was great. Is among Daniel Craig is in my top one. If I had to make a list, I would probably say Dalton, Craig, Connery, Moore, Bronson. That's how I'd probably rank them. And Casino Royale was the movie that got me, because as I said on a previous discussion, that before I was just a kind of a casual fan of the Bond series, and then with this movie, by this time I was becoming more interested in film and film history, and this was the movie that made me want to dive deeper into the work of Ian Fleming and go back and watch the other previous Bonds. And for that, I had to thank Casino Royale, because I went and watched and rediscovered On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and that became my favorite Bond movie. And so that's all I have to say about Casino Royale. Silence.
Silence is deafening.
Awkward silence. Awkward silence.
And then I guess that brings us, after a period of awkward silence, to Quantum of Solace.
Better known as its other title, Missed Opportunities, the movie.
Or its alternate title, Quantum of Mediocrity.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really what you can basically say about Quantum of Solace. It's not bad, but it's not good either. It's just, yeah.
At least it was a decent follow-up to Casino Royale, unlike the other revenge
Oh
flick.
yeah. I definitely give credit for that. It actually tried to be a follow-up to the previous film, and I think in terms of actually continuing the plot, it did an all right job. It's just a lot of the stuff in it wasn't handled very well.
Yeah, that's what I liked about it. It's the redeeming quality of that film. That film is that it followed the plot, and it did a great job continuing the storyline of Bond being human and growing up. And it's nice to really see those aspects. I think, for example, him talking to the guy that was supposedly the double agent in the previous film. Him talking, so you can't sleep. It's like you want to talk about it, and you see Bond drinking, getting drunk, and actually finding his vodka martini. He's getting the tradition of, I'm drinking a vodka martini because that keeps me going. Yeah, I think seriously, that's what Bond's. If they did a blood test of Bond, it's like, yep, 50% of it's vodka. The other 50% is blood, and 10% lead.
No, most humans are 75% water. James Bond is 75% vodka martinis.
Yep.
Well, my liver's gone. I'll have a Metamucil.
Q, give me a new liver.
That's in that link. That's in that link on there. Yeah, you know what's funny is that Daniel Craig is not so far, because Skyfall just came out. Daniel Craig has not set the line "shaken, not stirred." And Casino Royale, it was vodka martini, shaken or stirred. Do I look like I give a damn? And Quantum of Solace, he already has it. And then in Skyfall, they're sitting at the bar, and the woman's stirring the vodka martini, and he makes a sign with his hand like, just right, perfect, and he drinks it. It is so far he hasn't actually said that line yet.
Oh, that's a good. That's interesting. I Yeah, I think what I like about it is that this is probably so far the strongest start to the Bond era because where Sean Connery, he was good, it was very strong, and then started waning, and then you see, okay, you should have stopped, and then you have George Lazenby promising, and then it was cut short. Roger Moore is like, oh, the third film, just right, got it. Timothy Dalton, strong, Living Daylights, was pretty good. It's a bit goofy. Then you have License to Kill. It's like, wow, strong, but then they cut him short. And Pierce Brosnan, strong start, and then he just gets in the door, and they poor Bond falls and face plants to the ground. That's how his era went. And with Daniel Craig, it's very strong, and it's really it's very promising. I have high